Today we're going to have an NKT refreshers for you SES teachers. So the goal for this session is to provide an overview of the NKT, to understand how the NKT data relates to us, our SES students, and how you, the special education teacher, can use that information. And our guiding questions you can see on the screen. So the first question, what is the NKT? So the NKT is the number knowledge test. It is individually administered. It is an oral test that the children have to respond orally, and it has to do with their mental math. So they do not have manipulatives that they work with, pencil or paper. It is all oral and individually administered. So what you may not know is that MCDPI requires the screening of all K2 students in math 3 times per year, statewide, and Wake County has chosen the NKT as our vehicle to meet that requirement. So here's our next question, right? What is the purpose of giving the NKT? So the purpose of the number knowledge test is to assess every child on their understanding of that basic, age-appropriate mathematical concepts. So the students are assessed just to find that basic, age-appropriate understanding of mathematical concepts. So much like M-Class screens all students in the areas of support in ELA, the NKT does the same for math. It's a universal screener. So its outcomes give you that general idea of the student's conceptual understanding of basic mathematical concepts, such as the numerical and quantity relationships and that mental computation. Just like M-Class, it levels the students in 3 different areas. So as a means to highlight which students need more support based on their same age peers. So there's 3 levels in NKT, just like you have 3 levels in M-Class. And NKT is designed to identify those different tiers of support in the same way. So remember, it assesses every child on their mental math competencies and their conceptual understandings of numbers and puts them in a score range that is based on the answers of their age-related peers. So here's your next question. Should I use the NKT to write my IEP goals for my students? Some people ask if they can just look at the items missed on the NKT to determine the goals for the IEP meetings, and the answer is no, as you can see by the graphic. But here's why. The NKT looks at a child's overall number sense or understanding. You know, that internal sense of a number line, and understanding of our base 10 system, to see if a child is at risk for not being successful in mathematics. That's its purpose, to help us objectively screen the kids for additional support. If we think of this in light of the critical learning phases, we know that in order to diagnose or intensively flag a student in the learning phases, that's a student's area of need, we need something more specific than that general understanding that we get in the NKT. We need to look at each continuum in sequential order and decide what the child needs to learn or next in their or experience next to gain understanding. That is why we need the critical learning phases, and that is why we use the AMC. But again, I digress. But I want you to make sure you don't worry. This is all coming in the next installment of our series. We will get to AMC. But to get back on the point, what do we need for IEP goal writing and progress monitoring is to find that specific area of need and not a measure of general understanding that the NKT provides. So for those kids who fall in this strategic range, don't worry, Gen Ed and intervention teachers are going to look more closely at the NKT to observe some of the characteristics of their thinking to provide appropriate support. But it's more nuanced and simple than simply just looking at the overall score. But guess what, special ed family? One thing I can happy to inform you is that let's just take that part, that nuanced discovery of the NKT answers, right on off your plate. If an SES student falls in anything but the intensive range on the NKT, that's a huge red flag. And further discussions by the IEP team need to be conducted immediately in the next meeting. So here's your next question. As a special ed teacher, when should I use the NKT data? So, as a universal screener, the NKT data is purely meant to flag any students who may have deficits in their conceptual understanding when solving mental math problems in comparison to their age level peers. What this that simply means is that it is purely designed to highlight potential deficits. As an SES teacher, you should be using this data as part of your student analysis. The NKT is great information to document achievement and growth. So, what's the bottom line? The bottom line is that the NKT is a state required universal assessment given to every Wake County public school system kindergartner through second grade student 3 times a year. Special education teachers, you should use this data anytime that you want to document achievement or growth. Your NKT data or the children's NKT data or the missed test items should not be used as a basis for IEP goals. So right now, I want you to go ahead and take a moment and just to process and get a little pulse check on yourself about how you feel about this information. What does this information open up to you? Any aha moments you have? And talk to your PLT. If after your discussion you have any questions, please feel free to contact me, Tama Johnson, or Joy Elliott here in the Special Education Math Department, and we'll happy to work with your PLT to deepen your understanding or to answer any questions you may have. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you so much for everything you do for students, and we hope this information was helpful.